Time for our top story of the day. It's the Daily Special.
Brought back to reality. That's what happened to the Phoenix Suns last night. Their 4-game winning streak snapped just like that. A blowout at the hands of a Boston Celtics team that did not have Jason Tatum. No Tatum, no problem for the Boston Celtics as they hit basically every shot they took in the first half of that basketball game. The Suns' defense took a massive step backwards, and that is the type of game that we got used to seeing from this basketball team this year. This previous stretch was the outlier in terms of how they were playing on the defensive end. Last night, a reversion back to the norm. And I know a lot of focus today is going to be on the defensive effort from the Phoenix Suns. And the focus is going to be on giving up 132 points and allowing a team that did not have Jason Tatum to run you out of your own building. I mean, just look up and down the box score. Porzingis drops 30. Brown added 24. White, Holiday, and Al Horford all with 16. They got contributions from everywhere. The starters were just lighting it up. I get it. The focus is going to be on the defense. And I'm watching that game in the first quarter last night. And I'm watching them go up and down the floor, trading shots. And it was a really good start for Boston. They got out to, I think it was like a 21-9 lead in the game last night. And then the Suns had a bit of a rally. Double-digit run of their own to get it close, to get it competitive. And you could see, at least I thought I could see, the way this game was going to go. It felt like it was one of those mid-2010s ESPN, ABC, Saturday night college football broadcasts between Oklahoma and Texas Tech, or insert two of your favorite Big 12 schools that would be on that national broadcast, and you knew. You knew when you sat down in the mid-2010s, and some cases it happens even now, but you just knew in the mid-2010s you would sit down on a Saturday night after watching an entire slate of college football and you would see that it's Oklahoma against Texas or it's Oklahoma against Texas Tech, and you knew what you were signing up for. Defense, optional. This was going to be a 45-38 track meet up and down the football field. That's what I felt watching the first quarter of that basketball game last night. That it was going to be who misses the least, who has the ball last, who's able to get that final possession. That's the way the game felt like it was trending in the first quarter. Because the Suns' defense, they didn't do a great job rotating. The Celtics did an awesome job of just knocking down shots. And there were moments in that game in the first quarter and in the first half where you just see the ball movement of the Boston Celtics and you go, oh, I understand why that team won a championship. Even without Jason Tatum, they can look like the best team in the sport. Their leading player in points per game, in assists per game, in rebounds per game, sidelined, didn't play last night, didn't miss a beat. Now, maybe that says more about Jason Tatum than it does the rest of this team, but they stepped up and they knocked down shot after shot after shot. So you knew what you were getting yourself into when the first quarter came to an end. And I know we all want to jump on the defensive effort last night. I get it. This game was lost in the second quarter. And this game was lost in the second quarter not because the Suns couldn't play defense, but this game was lost in the second quarter because the Phoenix Suns went 0 for 9 from behind the three-point line. That's where this game was lost. When a team is hitting those types of shots, because not every shot was wide open. A good amount of them were, but not all of them were. And Boston was knocking down contested shots, uncontested shots. They were just making it look easy. The one thing you can't do is go cold. The one thing you can't do is have a stretch where in an entire quarter, you don't make a single three-pointer. It's done. I don't care how much better your defense gets in the second half, and it didn't. But even if they found themselves defensively, you dug yourself too big of a hole. You were already down 4 going into the second quarter. You get outscored 31-16 because, again, you miss all 9 of the three-pointers that you take. You're down 20 points to a Boston Celtics team that was just feeling it. You didn't stand a chance. And so you were brought back to reality last night. But here is the one word of caution that I would give to everybody. We're going to break this down from all sorts of different angles. We're going to weave in some baseball talk as well here today. So hopefully you stick with us for the next 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of the program. 2 hours here on the Thursday edition of We yesterday said that the Phoenix Suns were in the driver's seat for the last two spots in the Western Conference play-in tournament, the 9 and the 10 seeds. We had that take for you yesterday. I presented the case to you yesterday of this team being in the driver's seat over Sacramento, this team being in the driver's seat over Dallas, over Portland, over San Antonio, the 4 teams that are fighting it out, or the 5 teams that are fighting it out for those 2 spots. I laid that case out to you on yesterday's show. I am unchanged in that belief here today. We have been comparing the Phoenix Suns to the Sacramento Kings. We have been comparing the Phoenix Suns to the Dallas Mavericks, to the San Antonio Spurs, to the Portland Trailblazers. Against those teams, the Phoenix Suns are in the driver's seat. Against a team like Boston, the defending NBA champions, let's face it, the Suns aren't on that level. I know a win over Cleveland, a win over Milwaukee, Jason Tatum not being available, it may just stop and pause. We paused yesterday when talking about it. Maybe this is everything coming up aces, right? We've been using this blackjack analogy when it comes to the stretch that the Suns were on. You beat Cleveland, you beat Milwaukee, your off night, you get all 4 results that you need. It doesn't look like Jason Tatum's going to play. Everything just seems to be breaking your way. Everything right now seems to be going the way you need it to go. Well, to continue that analogy, and John over on the YouTube chat kind of beat me to it in the pre-show conversation, but last night the dealer won. The house won last night. You busted. But guess what? I'm not comparing the Phoenix Suns to the Boston Celtics. I'm not comparing the Phoenix Suns to the upper echelon of teams. It was nice that you beat Cleveland. It was nice that you beat Milwaukee. It kind of allowed you to play with house money here over the remaining 8 games of this stretch. And guess what? Winning those 2 games means I don't feel as terrible today that you lost to Boston, because you're 2-1 3 games into this stretch. Nobody a week ago thought you were going to be 2-1 into this stretch. It's all about context, everybody. If you were comparing the Phoenix Suns to the Boston Celtics, yeah, you kind of got your answer last night. But at this stage of the season, nobody was talking about the Phoenix Suns in a championship light. We're talking about them. Are they good enough right now to make a play-in tournament? Are they good enough right now to maybe win that play-in tournament and get that 8th and final seed in the Western Conference playoffs? When comparing them to their contemporaries in that context, yes, they are good enough. Yes, they belong. They don't belong in a conversation with Boston. You saw it last night. You saw, when not even at full strength, what Boston can do to a team like the Phoenix Suns. What Boston has been doing to a lot of the teams in the Eastern Conference. And oh, by the way, to continue our analogy about being at the blackjack table and everything coming up aces for the Phoenix Suns, you drew Cleveland when they were in the middle of, at the time, their longest losing streak of the year at 3 games. You extended it to 4, so they were going through some stuff. You faced Milwaukee, and I can't really say anything about that game, but they didn't have Damian Lillard, right? So you caught some breaks there. You're facing a Boston team that, yes, didn't have Jason Tatum, but you know what? They also, going into last night's game, had won, 5, 6 in a row, 11-1 in the month of March. So it wasn't like when you faced Cleveland. It wasn't like when you faced Milwaukee. You were facing one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in the NBA. In fact, I think they have, other than Oklahoma City, the longest active winning streak in the NBA. You caught a hot team at a bad time. Your defense suffered. You went cold in the second quarter. That's it. That's what happened last night. So stop comparing the Phoenix Suns to the Boston Celtics. You're going to lose that battle all the time. The 2024-2025 Phoenix Suns do not compare to the Boston Celtics. They do not compare to the defending NBA champions. They don't. You saw it last night. You got your answer. Guess what? You've got one more game against them here next week when you play in Boston. It's probably going to go very similarly because you just don't belong on the floor with them. They are the defending NBA champs for a reason. Their ball movement, their shot-making ability, you just don't belong. But nothing changes. Nothing about this team and the way we felt about them during that 4-game winning streak should change. At least not yet. We'll talk in hour number 2 of the program of what variables might change that leads us to changing our opinion. But I'm not going to allow one game against the defending NBA champs when you've played well the 4 games previously, and you've done a lot of work to get yourself into this conversation, to get yourself in the driver's seat. And guess what? There's a bunch of games tonight. Dallas is in action. Sacramento is in action. The Trailblazers are in action. Actually, the Kings play the Trailblazers tonight, so you're going to get one result that you would like there. We'll do that in the leftovers in hour number 2 to close up shop here today, to tell you what games to keep an eye on tonight if you're channel surfing while you're watching the baseball game tonight. But, yeah, last night sucked. Yeah, last night was not enjoyable. Yeah, the defense lapsed. It took a huge step backwards. It looked like the team that dug themselves the hole of being the 11th seed in the Western Conference. I got you. You had an 0 for 9 second quarter that doomed you, and you're playing a team that was hotter than hot right now. Sometimes that just happens. I'm not going to allow one result to change how I feel about the way this team is playing as of late. You compound this mistake, you look bad in the next game for the Phoenix Suns, you look bad the next time out on the floor, and I don't even want to go as far to say you have to win those games. But if you get blown off the court, because you got blown off the court last night, if you play competitive the way you played against Milwaukee on Monday and you fall short and you have a good bounce-back effort, okay, you're going to answer a lot of questions for me. Last night sucked. Last night was not ideal. I get it. But I'm not going to allow one game to change my entire tune about this stretch the rest of the way, because you're kind of playing with house money. You put 2 nice wins in your back pocket at the start. Okay, you had a slip. You had a blunder. You got blown out. How do you respond? And stop comparing the Phoenix Suns to the Cleveland Cavaliers, to the Milwaukee Bucks, to the Boston Celtics, the teams that they've played lately. Compare them to how the Sacramento Kings are playing right now. Compare them to how the Dallas Mavericks are playing right now. San Antonio, Portland. Compare them to those teams, because that is the comparison that matters at this point of the year.